Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Stencil Saturday design. This week we are working with my woven squares stencil, and this time we are gonna really not stitch a whole lot of the stencil. You can see that I've gone ahead. I do want to have these individual squares marked out, which are 3-inch squares, so I went ahead and stitched that, and I generally would do that if I know that I was going to stitch this in a large area. I would always stitch out these main squares first and then go back and do whatever it is I'm going to do inside these squares. For one reason, I like to work methodically. It just makes more sense for me to have these and then kind of come back through here and go methodically one by one. The other reason is for stabilization. You know, you don't want to do something in this, granted, what we're going to do this week is not real tight, but you don't want to do too much quilting in this little spot. Things might start to distort as you go along. So I just prefer to go ahead and stitch them. And I did that ahead of time so that you don't have to watch me stitch that. So you can start anywhere that you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and start up here at the top. But let me show you right here what we're going to do first. So the one thing I do want to stitch from the stencil is this center square, and then we're going to go ahead and just do little, I guess they're points. So I'm going to start in a corner here. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to stitch up, and I'm going to use these little intersections that are within the stencil to aim for. So we're just going to do this freehand. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could use a ruler, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just stitch a curved line up to this intersection and down to this one. I'm going to travel. I'm going to stitch up to this intersection, down, travel, and I'm going to do that in each one of these little kind of bars. Travel, stitch this one. I am going to, as I come in with my first curve, I'm going to go ahead in and stitch this square and continue on. So let me come up here and we will get started. So I'm going to start in a corner. And one other thing to note is that to make this easier to stitch, I turned the stencil, because I wanted to be able to start in a corner. In order to do this design, I needed to flip the stencil over and mark it upside down, so that I would have this bar facing this direction. So, like I said, we're just going to stitch. I'm going to aim up for here, stitch the center square in, so just curve up there. And again, you could grab your ruler if you wanted to stitch this center square, but I'm not going to do that. And then we're just going to curve out. Travel down. Curve up to this little intersection, curve back out, travel, curve up, back out, travel, curve up, and back out. It's a really cute little design. It almost is like a flower kind of. So then I can just travel across the top here, and I am using contrasting thread so that you can see what I'm doing. So in reality, if I were stitching this, I would use matching thread so that these little backtracks and stuff weren't so obvious. Same thing. So we're just going to curve up here, stitch the square, and continue on. Travel, curve, curve back out, travel, curve up, curve out, travel, curve up, out, and then I'm going to travel right into the next one. But I did want to mention at this point that, you could, if, this is a nice, fairly open design. If you wanted it to be a little fuller, at this, as you stitch like these little points, you might decide to fill them in. So it would fill in all of these, and then this would be raised up a little more if you wanted a little denser quilting. That is always an option, and you can put any fill in there that you like. Curve up, stitch my square, back out, travel, up, out, travel, up, out, travel, up, and back out. You know, and you also there are many other options. You could decide to maybe you want to put something else in here. You know, and that's fine. It could be anything from like maybe one little feather or a swirl, anything that maybe would make it, maybe it's an element that's in the same quilt that you were doing this on. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the rest of these. Okay, now that I have finished those, can take a look at this. And I thought too, I've had quite a few people write to me and ask about how I'm removing my Pounce chalk. I have a bunch of different things that I like to use. It just kind of depends usually what's the most convenient on the table at the moment. And today I have sitting right here this little, I think it was cut, oh, it's right on there, hand and nail brush. I got it like at, I want to say at Walmart in the cleaning section. And why I like this is because it's firm, but not like too soft and not too rough. And it works really well. And I have my extended base plate on here. So it gives me kind of a base, and you just kind of scrub these and it takes it, I mean, it takes it out really well, actually. So you can see how nicely that takes that off of there. So I hope you've enjoyed today's design, and I will see you next time. Bye.